It was another memorable night here at Madison Square Garden. Unfortunately, this time it ends on a bit of a sour note. Nate Diaz loses to Jorge Masvidal via doctor stoppage. Going into the fourth round, cut above his right eye, a little bit under as well. Questionable, controversial. Did you agree with the call, Chael?
I was surprised by the call. I do not wish to challenge the doctor and what he saw up close. I will just offer you, in all fairness, of the fights that I've watched, and this also extends to boxing, I have seen deeper cuts that produce a lot more blood that were not stopped.
Yeah, I think the blood wasn't coming out as much as, it normally is when they come in there and stop a fight. It usually has to be affecting the fighter's vision. It didn't seem to be affecting, but taking a look at those cuts afterwards, and the doctor definitely saw something that maybe we don't know. I'm definitely not a medical professional, so It's not my job. I'm just disappointed that it had to end that way.
You know, the New York State Athletic Commission, you fought here before, they have a reputation for being overly cautious. I see a lot of people saying, if this was Nevada, you remember Tyson Fury recently, 47 stitches. This might be a tough question to answer, but do you think if this fight is happening in Nevada, they let that go?
I think that this fight could even happen here in New York. This was one doctor's opinion. Now, medicine is just that. You form your opinion. I don't think there's any reason to play around. I feel that Masvidal, in fairness, had already proved his point. And by the way, when you're dealing with an eye, you want to be on the side of caution. I think that's reasonable.
You know, I had Masvidal up 3-0 Did you score it the same way going into the fourth?
100%, yeah.
Okay, so does it feel like a bit of a travesty that this is overshadowing what was a really great performance from him?
Yeah, he was on fire. I mean, he was dropping Nate, controlling him on the ground. Clinch work was on point. His cardio seemed to be holding up just fine. So the fact that it has to end with a doctor stoppage, and we're talking about that as opposed to how fantastic Masvidal looked. I mean, I picked him for this fight. He came out there. He performed exactly how I thought he was going to do. He's putting his kicks together, everything together. Yeah, so it's kind of unfortunate for him.
How about Felder reminding us that he picked Masvidal?
Yeah, he did. Well, Felder was on fire tonight, though. He only had one fight wrong, so he deserves a little credit.
Well done. Okay, so let's look ahead, because afterwards, Nate said, let's run it back. Yep. Let's do it right away. Masvidal a little bit going. Dana White says, I have no interest in running it back. Do you want to see them do it again right away?
No, this fight, the point was proven, okay? And now Nate Diaz proved how tough he was, how durable he was. Masvidal was very smart. He never came to the ground. He never engaged in some of that jiu-jitsu that Nate is so well known for. He stuck with ground and pound, stayed above him, controlled the angles. It was a very smart fight. On their feet, Diaz was getting off. But he's punches and bunches. He's an accumulation guy. That's what he does, and he went and did it. Masvidal is a power striker. He throws the kicks. He mixes it up a little better. They proved their point. In another circumstance where this is not a main event, by example, the fight was over. It would only be scheduled for 3 rounds. So, no, I don't think the fact that it was a 5-round fight and they put that on there for the BMF title in the main event in the new way that we do policies over the last 5 years. Listen, they had a good fight. It was a fair contest. Referee stepped in, made his decision. Let's all go home.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the perfect storm. Everything lined up for this event to happen here at Madison Square Garden. Jorge, Nate, the call out after Nate's last fight. It had to be right now. And right here on tonight, and trying to set that up again would just seem forced to me.
Okay, so you guys are in agreement, so let me ask you first. Who does Jorge Masvidal fight? Who does he go from here?
Okay, now that's interesting. Now, when we hear from Jorge, I have a feeling he title shot. Jorge, hold on. You are very something special now. You have a title yourself, which, by the way, I don't think you're ever going to be able to defend, which means you can never lose it. That's a special thing. You're also a huge draw, evident of a sold-out Madison Square Garden, $6+ million game. He's a star. Does he want a title shot? Yeah, I would respect that. Would I love to see him in Kamar? Yeah, I would. I think he is more likely to be the next guy for the title should Colby win. I think there's a better story, and I think there's more heat there. But I would also offer for Masvidal, take a break. Enjoy yourself. Let your hair down just a little bit. Let's let some other guys catch up to you, because you're in the lead right now.
Yeah, I agree. He can sit back and kind of call the shots. Now, winning this BMF title, kind of puts him where Nate was. I think he took a step forward in that regard. Nate was kind of calling the shots coming into this event. And I think now Jorge has that chance to kind of negotiate, sit back, and let everybody come to him a little bit, like Chael said.
Okay, so I know the fans get mad when we bring up Conor because he hasn't fought in a really long time, but it does seem like he's on the... Look at Felder chuckling over there. I heard that, Felder. But it does seem like he's on the verge of coming back. So is this a good result for Conor in the sense that maybe it frees up Nate Diaz for him in his second fight? He was talking about those 3 fights. Or maybe, because Masvidal is a 170-pounder, I don't know if we want to see Conor fight at 170. Masvidal has said time and again he's not interested in going back down to 155. Like, to steal a phrase from this guy, where does Conor McGregor fit into all of this?
Sure, and I think some talk of him versus Masvidal, look, that's going to be a beating, in my opinion, that we don't need to see, it, particularly if he has to leave the weight class to do it. Look, Conor McGregor has shown his bravery by going to 2 sports and fighting anybody, doing all sorts. He doesn't now need to go to 170 and go after Jorge Masvidal. For me, the Nate Diaz is still the ace underneath the sleeve. That sells out. Conor goes and fights somebody else, loses, whatever happens, that still works. It's one of those plays that they can make, and they don't have to do it immediately.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's not something we need to force right now. I think the Diaz fight for McGregor is much more interesting, especially if he loses. But even if he doesn't, I just think that's something that everybody wants to see no matter what. Like I said, we can probably watch that fight until we're 50 years old. So.
Okay, now let's talk about some other fights and what's potentially next for the big winners. Darren Till wins. Fresh coat of paint on his career, right? 185. We talked before the fight, hey, maybe he can emerge as a top contender for Adesanya now that Paulo Costa is out. Adesanya, I don't know if you guys saw him. He was eyeing him down. He was in the front row. He really is interested in that fight. Did he do enough to maybe leapfrog a Yoel Romero for the #1 contender spot?
Yes. Now, that division's in a little bit of turmoil. Okay, Gastelum just lost. He's out. Weidman went up to 205. He's out. Jacare goes up to 205. He's out. Whitaker just had Adesanya. He's out. Yoel Romero, 3 title shots, missed weight for 2 of them. I think that he's out. The point is, yes, Darren Till does have a fresh coat of paint. Darren Till just had to take out the former #1 contender. And if Darren Till, and it surprised me that he didn't, point right at Adesanya and call him out, Adesanya would have stood up and said, you got a date.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I kind of like this approach that Till's taking where he's sitting back and, you know, sometimes you get humbled in this sport. And I feel like he's learned from that. And we're seeing a different side of him. And he's not trying to rush into anything like that. And if he gets another matchup before that fight, I think that's probably the smarter thing for him, to get another matchup at 185 before you fight for the belt. But I think that opportunity might arise for him.
I might be getting ahead of myself here, but I'll ask the question anyway. Greg Hardy next week is main eventing a show in Moscow against Alexander Volkov. That's a big step in competition. Yeah. Derrick Lewis really wants to fight Greg Hardy. Is it possible that if Hardy pulls off the upset, that Lewis, who won tonight against Ivanov, is a possible fight in the future that is made next?
Most definitely. Listen, Derrick Lewis is fun and he's special. And if you challenge Greg Hardy's toughness, I mean, I think he's proven that just by taking this fight back to back. You'd be wrong to do that. Greg Hardy will accept that challenge. I really do believe that, and I think that's a fight fans want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I want to see because Derrick Lewis doesn't like him.
Yes.
And when he doesn't like somebody, he's already trying to punch your face off. So what's he going to try to do to Hardy if he's in there, and how much animosity he has towards him? But I think Hardy's got a real challenge next week in stepping in. But I do appreciate that he stepped up. He wanted that fight. He's trying to really prove things kind of wishy-washy, the inhaler, all that. He wants to just rinse that all away, and this is the perfect opportunity for him to do that.
Okay, let me ask the lightweight question. Kevin Lee shocks, I think, all of us by knocking out Gillespie. I don't think we were shocked that he won, but the knockout was somewhat shocking.
Yeah.
Is he now a player again at 155? And
oh, yeah.
Is he maybe someone on your radar?
Yeah, I mean, of course, look, I don't have a matchup. I don't know who I'm fighting next. And after a performance like that, I think he's going to be on everybody's radar. You know, we already knew how good Kevin Lee was. He just didn't seem to be able to put it together in the right moments. But here, MSG against undefeated Gregor Gillespie, to be able to go out there and KO him like that, that's a huge statement. He's got a new coach now. He's got a newfound confidence in himself. And he even said, I don't want to celebrate yet. I got some more fights to go and win. So we'll see what happens. I'm still waiting for a phone call, so we'll see what's going on.
Is this poor form? I hate when we sort of but I actually really like that fight. I was sitting back and I was looking at Paul and I was looking at Kevin.
And so
I was
does
like,
Twitter, apparently.
This kind of makes sense.
Sure.
What do you think, Chael?
Sure. Well, Paul had shared with me, and I hope I'm not speaking at school, but he shared me. Kevin Lee's one of these guys I'm keeping my eye on. He said the same thing about Gillespie. He's one of the guys I'm keeping my eye on. So I think that there is something there. Kevin Lee really has had a tough year, by the way. His mentor and coach, Robert Falls, passed away. He moved to Faraz, but don't forget, that's not only a different gym, that's in a different country. I mean, he really took some risks. He returned to 170 pounds. He humbled himself, and he had a great performance. For right now, Kevin Lee needs to exhale. He needs to take a little bit of time off, but he also needs to be very proud of stopping Gregor Gillespie.
Okay, so this felt like the night where the hype train ended, right? And another one of those cases, including Gregor Gillespie, was Johnny Walker. Sure. Wow, who saw that coming? Corey Anderson knocking him out. And afterwards, John Jones gets on Twitter, as he is known to do, and says, are you feeling froggy, Corey Anderson? That makes me think he is interested in this fight now. Do you think there's a chance that they do Corey Anderson versus John Jones as opposed to Dominic Reyes versus John Jones?
I think that's a a question the boss is going to have to go and figure out, you know, because both these guys, in my opinion, are deserving right now. They put on beautiful performances, got the stoppages. You know, Chris Weidman, former champion, took him out Reyes. Then we get Johnny Walker's got all this hype. Everybody's talking about him. We even said it. You're buying the hype. Of course you are, the performances he's put on. So I don't know. I'm leaning towards Reyes just because he's still undefeated.
Who gives John a tougher test?
I think Reyes.
Okay, what do you think?
I believe John's opinion is Reyes, and I think we should consider his opinion. I say that because he was very dismissive of Reyes, and now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little conversation going with Corey Anderson, so it would appear, and that's smart. That's good. John doesn't deserve an insult for that. That's the way you want to play this game. Take the biggest fight against the easiest opponent for the most money. I mean, that's how this game is played. I appreciate what Corey did tonight, and I will predict for you something special is in store for him. A co-main event on a pay-per-view, a main event on another show. I just don't believe it's a world title right now. I think that's going to Dominic.
Okay, 2 last ones. True or false, all right? Caitlin Chukagian, is she going to fight Valentina Shevchenko next?
True.
True.
Does she have a chance?
No.
I like Caitlin. I'm going to say she does.
Okay, and last one. Edmund Shabazian. Is he the truth?
Yes.
He is the truth.
Okay, what a win for him over Brad Tavares.
You slipped that in. You said 2. There was 3.
I said
that
2.
was deserving.
They're telling me to wrap. This is a YouTube segment. I don't know why we're telling us to wrap. You know, we could go 30 minutes.
Sure.
I do a 3.5-hour show every Monday.
Yes,
and people seem to love it. But in the end, they're telling me to go home. I think they want us to go home. It's very late here. It's very late.
All right.
Anyway, we're out of time. This building opened up on February 11th, 1968. They have hosted every event under the sun.
Oh, that game's over. I'm sorry. I thought we were still playing.
Chael, they never hosted a BMF title fight until tonight.
Nobody has.
True.
Never. 1 of 1. That's it. It's over.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app. And for live streaming and special content, subscribe to ESPN+.